Hello, and today I will be talking about some murder cases. Because why not? I want to become like Jessie V. If you haven't watched her, she's like a cool YouTuber that talks about like cases, tales, glitches, nostalgic things, like just anything about like scary stuff. So I just want to read some murder cases. So let's start with the first one. John Venables and Robert Thompson. In 1993, John Venables and Robert Thompson, both 10 years old, remember, 10 years old, became the youngest convicted murderers in modern British history. While at the shopping mall, they lured and abducted a 2-year-old boy. James Bulger away from his mother. Bulger's body was found 2 days later on railroad tracks. His body was so mutilated that the autopsy couldn't even reveal his actual cause of death. Oh my god, that's just so sad. And Diane Downs. I hope I'm saying the name right. Diane? I think it's Diane, yeah. In 1983, Diane Downs shot her 3 children and drove them to the hospital. One of her daughters were pronounced dead upon arrival. Her other daughter suffered a stroke, and her son was paralyzed from the waist down. Diane claimed a strange man tried to steal her car and then shot everyone. However, the police found her secret diary detailed her obsession with detailed her obsession with a married man who did not want kids. This ultimately led her to arrest. She was sentenced to life in prison plus 50 years. Dang. Oh no. Dennis Nilsen. That's what we've got here. Dennis Nilsen murdered 6 people in the late 70s and the early 80s. He'd pick up young men at London bars and bring them back to his home where he'd strangle them. He'd often bathe and dress the corpses, and often keeping the bodies for weeks or even months. I can't say the rest, I'm sorry. I can't say that word. But they were having... I'll just say the rest, not the word, but just the rest. With them before ultimately burning or flushing the remains down in the toilet. In fact, he was only caught because a drain outside his home had become blocked with the human remains he had tried to flush away. That is just so... And there was even one word I can't say because I'm just like a child. Catherine Knight was the first Australian woman to be given life imprisonment without parole. She stabbed her husband, John Price, to death and then skinned him. Soon after, she decapitated him and cooked his random parts of his body with the intention of feeding them to her unsuspecting kids. She even set the table and had placed cards to tell her children where to sit. I just need to process that. Oh my god. These people are just maniacs. The Alphabet Murders. Between 1971 and 1973, 3 young girls were raped, strangled, and killed in upstate New York. Each victim's first and last name started with the same letter, and their bodies were found in a city that started with the same letter of their names. Carmen Colon in Churchville, Michelle Mayenza in Macedon, and Wanda Walkowicz in Webster. These killings were known as the Alphabet Murders. Though several hundred people were questioned, no one has ever been convicted of the crimes. I can't show. I don't think I'm allowed to show the photos because they have the face in them, and I just want to respect privacy, you know? There's so much words I can't say. In 1981, I hope I'm saying this right. Issei Sagawa shot and killed a woman in his apartment. He ate different parts of her body over a 2-day period because he thought it would let him absorb her beauty. He also had with her corpse. Later on, Sagawa tried to dispose of the leftovers in a lake in France where he lived. He awaited trial for 2 years, was declared insane, and the charges against him were dropped. He ultimately became a mini celebrity in Japan, where he couldn't be legally detained, so he remains free to this day. Oh my god. He's roaming around free? For you people, I'm not crying. I'm just like, for some reason my eyes are tearing up. For the people who live in Japan, I pray for y'all. Alright, the Papins. I hope I'm saying this right. The Papin sisters? Christine and Leah Papin were Papin. I don't know, because it's French. And I don't know. Oh, Leah. Okay, yeah, well, I'm just gonna move on. Leah Papin were 2 French girl sisters and live-in maids. In 1933, after working for and living with the Lancelin family for 7 years, they murdered Madame Lancelin and her daughter, Genevieve. Both were beaten and stabbed to the point where the bodies were practically unrecognizable. Their eyes were also gouged out. Gouged? I have no idea. Out. The police discovered the Papin sisters in the room naked in the bed together with the murder. Oh no, I've heard of this one. If you haven't, warning, it's traumatizing. Here, I'll just give you the picture. I'll cover this one because it doesn't have a face, but if you recognize this picture, hold on, I gotta focus. If you recognize this picture, you know what this case is about. Carl Tanzler. Carl Tanzler was a radiology technologist at a hospital in Florida. In 1930, he met Helen Milagro de Hayos, who was diagnosed with tuberculosis. Tanzler became obsessed with Hoyos, who died in 1931, even though he didn't technically murder her. This story is too disturbing to not include. 2 years later, Tanzler removed Hoyo's body from the cemetery. He tried to preserve it by attaching her bones together with wire, placing wax-soaked cloth over her skin, and sticking rags in her body to help keep its shape. Several years later, in 1940, Hoyo's sister heard a rumor that Tanzler was sleeping with the disinterred body of her sister. She confronted him, and Hoyo's body was ultimately found. I think I've heard of this one too. Oh, I dropped the phone. Yeah, that's the only thing you get to see. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm being too happy for this. I feel so much rage in my body right now because of what the victim have been through. But let's just start with the 9th one. Gertrude I cannot say this last name right. Baniszewski. Okay, I'm just going to say that. Gertrude Baniszewski facilitated the torture and murder of 16-year-old Sylvia Likens in 1965. I think it's Likens or Likens? Hold on. I think it's Likens. Likens was tortured in unspeakable ways for 3 months by the Baniszewski Kosminski family while she lived with him. To be honest, I felt physically ill while reading about the things they did to her. These events were so horrifying that they were considered the most terrible crime ever committed in the state of Indiana. Oh, I know this one too. If you know this name, the Granny Ripper and Tamara Samsonova, you know what I'm about to read. Samsonova is a 71-year-old Russian serial killer who murdered and ate at least 11 people from 2000 to 2015. She kept a detailed diary of her crimes and even confessed to killing her friend after a quarrel over unwashed cups. She drugged a friend with sleeping pills and used a handsaw to dismember her. While she was still alive, Samsonova is also suspected of killing her husband, who she reported missing back in 2005. She is currently still in prison and awaiting trial. We got Carl Panzram. Carl Panzram is known as America's most repulsive serial killer. He admitted to killing 21 people, though not all have been confirmed, and sodomizing, I don't know if I'm supposed to say it there or not, sodomizing over 1,000 boys and men throughout the 1920s. One of the Panzram most brutal murders involved hiring 6 men to work on a boat with him, shooting them, and then feeding them to crocodiles. In his autobiography, he wrote, "For all these things, I am not the least bit sorry." That's just sad. Oh my god. Oh my god. One of them is the Hello Kitty murder. I'm just looking at all of these. I don't want to look at this anymore. I'm just gonna put back. But there is I can't say it. I don't know what the word is. There was such a graphic photo. Mary Bell, not like like Annabelle. I said Mary Bell. Mary Bell was 10 years old when she committed her first murder by strangling a 4-year-old boy later that year. Later that year, in 1968, she strangled a 3-year-old boy. This time, she had an accomplice. Both of them carved their initials on the boy's body and cut off his private parts. Oh no. Bell was sentenced to prison for 12 years, and in 1980, at the age of 23, she was granted anonymity. She now has a daughter and lives in England under a new name. So this woman, who literally killed 2 innocent boys, is roaming free. Just remember that. The Cleveland torso murderer. At least 12 people and as many as 20 were killed and dismembered by an unknown person in the late 1930s. Random body parts started to turn up in Cleveland, Ohio. The first ones being discovered by kids who were playing in a field, and only 2 of the 12 victims have been ever identified. The top left picture is a casting of John Doe, the second's decapitated head, which was put on display at the Great Lakes of Exposition of 1936 to 1937, with the hope that one of the more than 1 million visitors could identify this victim. He remains unidentified to this day. Number 14. The Hello Kitty murder. Fan Man Yi was a 23-year-old nightclub hostess who was kidnapped by 3 men in 1999. They tortured her for a full month before she died, though it's unclear if her death was caused by the men or from a drug overdose. But after she died, the men decapitated her and put her skull in a giant Hello Kitty doll. All three men were convicted of manslaughter. The Hello Kitty murder is recognized as one of the most cruel and callous cases to ever appear in the court of Hong Kong. I think I know this one. Oh no. Edmund Kemper, aka the Co-Ed Killer. Edmund Kemper brutally murdered 10 people, including his paternal grandparents and his mother. During an 11th-month killing spree in the early 70s, Kemper killed 6 students in the mountains of California, decapitated him, and had with their corpses. He also killed his mom, with a claw hammer and decapitated her head with their own mother? They had I don't know how to describe it. They had with their own mother, their own dead mother's body, and then called the police to turn himself in. Number 16. Second to last one. I'm looking at the last one's pictures and I don't know if that's him or not, but it better not be him. Kenneth Troyer. 1976, Karen Klass was raped and strangled by her own pantyhose by an unknown assailant. She was unconscious when police found her and was in a coma for 5 days until her death. Nearly 41 years later, thanks to familial DNA testing, police were able to identify Kenneth Troyer as the attacker. Troyer had already been dead since 1982. This was Hermosa Beach's long-running cold case ever. I can't look at this photo. If you won't look at it, but hold on, let me look at it. This is the boy. This better not be the boy. This in the box better not be the boy. Cause it is. Cause if it is, you people are cruel. An identified boy was found in a card box. It's him. In a Philadelphia field in 1957. His naked body was covered in bruises in a blanket. Because he was so malnourished, police couldn't determine the boy's actual age. They assumed he was between 4 and 6 years old. More than 400,000 flyers with the boy's likenesses were distributed in hopes of finding out more information about what happened, but no one came forward with any concrete tips or claims. There are several theories about what actually occurred, but this case remains unsolved to this day. Over 60 years later, the boy's headstone reads, "America's Unknown Child." Oh my god. It was the boy in the cardboard book. But it looks like he was cut up. Hold on. Oh my god. If you don't want to see, don't see, but I'm showing the picture up close. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. It looks like he's cut up. Looks like he's cut up. I'm praying that he isn't, because if he is, I feel so bad for this little boy. Whoever did this, shame on you. I don't care if they're not watching this video or they're dead. Shame on you. Go to a mental hospital. Get your health and brain together. That is a little boy, and I don't know why would you do that. If you didn't do it, I'm not blaming you. But if you did do it and you're watching this video, shame on you. I don't care if they're not on that in the video. If they're not watching the video, I don't care. Just shame on them. I need a break. Y'all, here's a free video. Credits to Otidari. Credits to Otidari. By the way, if you don't know what it says, okay, the first text is saying, where do Otidari be getting these beats from? I don't know if I'm saying the wrong right or not, but, and then he says in Thai, I make him my I can't read. I'm making myself, little bro. Thought if I thought that if I just showed you that, it would make you at least a little bit tiny better. But if you need some holy water, here, I'll give you some holy water. That's some holy water. Oh, you need some more? Okay. Okay, I think that's good. Here, I think that's a little bit too much holy water. Let me just wipe it off a bit. Okay, I think you're good now. Peace!